Do you know where children's health starts? It starts here, with the baby in arms. And the best milk for a baby is breast milk, as long as the mother is eating foods that the baby doesn't react to. And what we find that many babies are reacting to the wheat and the dairy that the mother is eating. If a baby has eczema, I tell the mother, you've got to stop the wheat and the dairy. And I tell the mother it'll take 2 months, and at exactly 2 months she sends me a photo of her baby eczema-free. And in Australia we've got an organisation called the Australian Breastfeeding Association, ABA, and I think you have it here called La Ligue, is that right? It's a breastfeeding association, and they say the same thing, is that if a baby has colic, if a baby has eczema, if a baby has asthma, then the mother must stop eating wheat, dairy, refined sugar. And if the mother says, but I like eating that food, then the mother might have to wean the baby, and the best milk to put the baby on is goat's milk, because goat's milk is the closest to human milk. You have a look at the size of a baby goat and the size of a baby human. It's very similar. Have a look at the size of a baby human and the size of a baby calf. And how big is the calf after 1 year? Very, very big. And have you noticed how dumb cows are? Have you ever tried to shoo them into a paddock, or you call it a field? So if you want a baby that is overweight and a bit dumb, what do you feed them? Cow's milk. The best milk for babies is the breast milk, and then the next best is the goat's milk. So when should a baby start eating? Not until they have 3 things present. They can sit, they can feed themselves. Did everyone hear that? I never fed a baby. Never fed a baby food. Wait till they can sit, they can feed themselves, and they have teeth. Is that common sense? It's absolute common sense. One lady said, but what if the breast milk doesn't have enough nutrients? Well, I have a question there. Has God made a mistake? God does not make mistakes. And my son James, who's 45 today and looks like a bodybuilder, he ate no food till he was 16 months of age. So here's this little toddler running around, never eaten food. He was not interested, so I didn't push it. It's not until the baby's molars are through, which is anywhere from 14 to 22 months of age, that the mouth now produces ptyalin. And ptyalin is a salivary amylase that breaks down starch. So babies should have no starch until the molars are through. What's starch? Cereal, potatoes, bread, cakes, biscuits, cookies, pastas. And yet what's the first food that parents are told to give their babies? Pure starch. And that's where malabsorption syndrome begins to be set up at a very young age. My babies would eat anything. Well, I really didn't feed them till they were well into their 2nd year, but they would eat anything. Have you noticed they'll eat anything? They'll eat a caterpillar, is that right? They'll eat anything that's on the ground. So what happens to cause a child to be fussy? Have you ever wondered? What happens? And my daughter Julia, she introduced her babies to food late, like I did. And the first thing they were given was raw food. I always gave them a piece of apple, piece of celery. And you know what they do? They learn to chew. And when a baby is just given slop, you know, they never learn to chew. In fact, I was reading the report of one dentist. He said the worst thing for babies is mush. You know, all that mushed up stuff they give babies? I never gave my babies that. When they could sit, when they could feed themselves, few little teeth, and the first teeth, 4 at the top, 4 at the bottom, that's milk teeth. Because that's what babies should have, is milk. But it's also taste time. Give them a piece of apple. They'll be chewing on that while you eat your meal. A piece of celery. Won't they choke? No, they'll gag. But you know what a gag is? Oh! up it comes. And you know who chokes? Babies that only, or toddlers that only ever have slop, and they're given something solid and they start to choke because they haven't learnt to chew. Our gums and our teeth need work. And when a baby's just given slop, their teeth and their gums don't develop as they should. So you know what the best thing to give to a 2-year-old? A whole apple. Don't cut it up, don't peel it, give them the apple. Yeah, bits of skin will come flying out, doesn't matter. It's their gums and their teeth need to chew, chew, chew. It's a crazy, crazy theory today to give a baby just mashed up food. Have you noticed when you give a little baby spoonfuls of this rice cereal or mashed up veggies, when you put it in their mouth, it comes straight back out? Have you noticed? That's because when they suck, they use their tongue and their top lip. It goes like this. So when you put that mushed up things in, they go like that and it pops straight back out. And you know what the baby's telling you? I'm not ready for this. Because they should chew. So I never made baby food. I never made it. I would just give them bits and pieces. And as their teeth came in and they got bigger, then I would steam a bit of cauliflower, I'd steam a little bit of broccoli, I'd steam a little bit of carrot. And I'd let them see the colour, pick it up, feel the texture, taste the flavour. But when it's all mashed up together, they never experience that. And my daughter Julia said, my children will eat anything, but my friend, her little one will only eat pizza, will only eat pasta, will only eat bread. That's because that's all it's been given. But if the food that children are given are the foods like your fruits and your vegetables, that's what they'll eat. I came to the conclusion that parents dictate the tastes of their children. I also never gave the children food between meals. Now that brings me to something else, and that is, in many homes, parents don't have any control over their children. So it's very important at a young age that the parents show the child that there are limits, that there are guidelines. Of course, there's never any limit to your love, but there are things that they can do and things that they cannot do. One lady said to me, "Oh, I can't stand it when my husband, my little crawling baby, tries to pull the cords out of the television and he hits her on the hand." And she said, "I get so upset, he's hitting my baby." I said, "Mother, you've got to stand back." Because you know what that father knows? That little one goes in there and picks it up, and those new little teeth bite straight into that electrical cord. That hit on the hand, that sting, is preventing a far greater tragedy. So it's very important that from a very young age, children know that there are things that they can do and there are things that they cannot do. So I taught my babies from a very young age. Baby names. I'll give you an illustration. I'm breastfeeding Peter. He's 10 months old. He's just got little teeth there, and he gives me a little bite. Now, Peter's not being naughty. He doesn't know. But it's my responsibility and my role to show Peter what he can and he can't do. And it hurt. And I went, "Oh." You see, a baby sucks with the tongue and the top lip. So to bite, they have to pull that tongue in and make a conscious decision to bite. And so I quickly put Peter down on the floor and leave the room. What does Peter do? Wah! He wants to feed, and I've just dumped him on the floor and walked out of the room. I wait a minute, then I come back in and I smile. Do you know what the smile says to Peter? "I love you." But what did me putting him down and walking out of the room tell Peter? Oops, there's something here that Peter's just done he's not to do again. And I look at Peter and I say, "Will we try again?" He's crying, but I do not pick him up till he stops crying. Now, if he fell over and hit his head and he's crying, of course I pick him up. But this is different. Stop. stop. When I see him make an effort to stop crying, I pick him up. If he starts crying again, I put him down. Stop. This takes a bit of time, but it's worth every bit of time. So I pick him up and I smile. What does the smile say? I love you. I'm feeding, he's feeding again. And I smile. I look away, because he's my 5th child, there's a whole lot of other children, and I notice he stops sucking. What does that tell me? Is he considering doing another little bite? So I quickly put my head round, look at him and say, yes. Suck, suck. And it never happened again. Can you see where you start? You start, you're kind, but you're firm. And you're consistent. So if you are doing this from baby in arms, there are areas they can go and they cannot go, then you're establishing basically the voice of authority. And so that by the time the children are a little older, they're used to some rules in the home. And the rules in the home were that when it's mealtime, you sit at the table and you don't leave the table. And if you're only feeding them a couple of times a day, they're hungry. And there's no crying at the table, there's no yelling. And if any child said yuck, well, they quickly left the room. That was a forbidden. And when the meal's finished, the child thanks the mother, and then the child takes their plate and rinses it and puts it in the dishwasher. One of the best things you can teach children from a very young age is to help. And you know they love to help. They love to help. And so let them help. Now, you call them napkins. I used to get the little 2-year-old can put the napkins on the table. Now, the napkins are all over the place. They're not folded very nicely. But it's a start. It's a start. And then they take the forks. Then they take the knives. Teach children to serve. You know, they love to serve because they feel that they're being helpful, appreciated. So every Friday night, our little grandsons, let's see, they're 3 and 5 and 8, they could massage Pa's feet. And they massage his feet and Pa says, oh, that feels so good. And so after a while, they came to me and say, Grandma, can we massage the guests' feet? And the guests, we always say, the guests, here are the guests. It's if they're in awe of the guests. They're very important people, the guests. And I said, I'll think about it. So we did it. So it was Saturday morning and I went early for the lecture and I had the little boys with me and I went in and I said to the guests, the little boys are wondering if they can massage your feet. Oh, and of course, yes, please. So they put a little towel down and I don't know what they do, you know. The guests are so happy and sometimes they slip a little bit of money to the boys. In so many homes, I see parents serving their children. But you know, it's a wonderful thing if you can help the children to serve you, to serve the guests. See, look at these little girls out there. Have you seen them, how they're at the desk and they're giving you your forms? And can you see that it encourages in them, it gives them a sense of accomplishment? And teaching children to work from a very young age is very important. I remember my daughter told me that she was busy in the kitchen and her husband came home and the 3 little girls were playing. I don't know, the little girls were 3, 5 and 6. And her husband said, what's going on here? Why is the mother in the kitchen and the girls up, quick, quick. You go and help your mother. So that's also very nice that the man of the home support the mother. And what this father did, he made little stools, little wooden stools so they could stood up and help mother at the kitchen. And what my daughter did was she took the girls shopping and they got their own rubber gloves so that they could help with the dishes. It's very important from a young age to establish guidelines in the home, to establish rules in the home, because when they leave home, guess what? There's a lot of rules. We had a lady do our program and her 15-year-old daughter came along and she was going to help, you know, in the kitchen, in the background. This girl was hopeless. She couldn't do a thing. She'd never cleaned a toilet. She'd never made a bed. She didn't even know how to cut up an onion. She was useless. And she got angry with her mother for not teaching her. And so we were talking about it, and the mother said, I thought I was being a good mother by doing everything. Well, you do everything here, but then as soon as they are able to be self-sufficient is one of the best things you can teach a child, to dress themselves, to make their bed, to clean up their toys after them, to clean their plate, and also when visitors are in the home, encourage them to take the visitor's coat, or to show them the inside shoes, or to ask them if they'd like a glass of water. All little things like this, it's one of the best things you can teach children, because children essentially are very selfish. And so, of course they're selfish because from a little age it's just all me, me, me. But then there's the transition from 2 and 3 years to train them into these areas. I find that if there isn't authority that a parent has over a child, then the child's not going to eat what you want them to eat. In fact, when it's time to do a potato poultice on them because they've got a sore knee, it just doesn't happen. So the earlier this begins, the better. A lady said to me once, she said, you've got so many grandchildren. We've just had grandchild number 23 be born, Oscar. My son delivered him in their family bed. How nice. So this is why I don't go anywhere in December, January, or I don't go anywhere in April, because that's when all the children and the grandchildren come. And I don't have any trouble with the grandchildren because there's rules, there's established rules in the home. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time. But if you put that initial time in, it certainly it pays off in the long run. So establishing rules in the home is vital from a very young age. And I remember something happened one night with little Lennox. And I found there's also times when you need to rescue children. So little Lennox is 3, I think he's 3 or 4, and his sister's a couple of years older, Sophia, and they're just going to bed. They're staying at my house over the holidays, and little Sophia sees a torch. You call it a flashlight? And she says, oh, Nana, could I have that torch so I can see to go to the toilet in the night? And then I see Lennox, and of course, what does he want? He wants the torch too. And I know that if he goes to bed, he's just going to turn on, off, on and on. He's never going to go to sleep. And I only have one torch. So I know there's going to be trouble. So I say to Sophia, no, I'll keep a little light on in the night. We won't take the torch. And I see little Lennox's face drop, and by the time we're in the bedroom, he's really crying. So I just ignore him, and she's in the top bunk, and I put her to bed, and Lennox has thrown himself on the floor. So I think, oh, well, I'll just leave him, and I'll walk out. Anyway, I'm in the lounge room, and I can hear him crying, and I'm thinking, he needs to be rescued, because how am I going to get him off the floor and into bed? And Lennox loves bulldozers. So I crawled in on my hands and knees, and I pushed the door open with my hand and my head and said, I'm a bulldozer, loud and strong. And he stopped crying, and then I went over towards him and I started pushing him with my head. And then I started putting him over and wrestling him, telling him I'm a bulldozer, and I heard him laugh. And then that's why you have to be fit. And then I threw him up on the bed, wrestling him and massaging him, and massaged him under the bed, and he's giggling. I had to rescue him. So I didn't reward his behaviour, because you never reward the behaviour. The consequence for that behaviour was he was left and he did not get the torch, but he needed rescuing. he couldn't get out of what he was in. and so that's how I did it. And then I was able to kiss him and say a little prayer with him, and he went to sleep. I also found that you have to be very careful what children are watching, because they believe everything they see. And so I never ever let the children watch things that were not true. And I could never bring myself to tell my children there was Santa Claus, because there isn't. And I remember when I was 12, we went to some Christmas party and my father was dressed up as Santa Claus. And I remember saying to my mother, "That's Dad." Oh, and she got so angry with me because I saw that it was my dad. And I remember thinking, oh, this is really strange. And because we're told every year that Santa Claus come down the chimney, and we have to put Christmas cake and a glass of milk for Santa Claus, and I just couldn't do that. And it's interesting, my daughter Julia said to me, she's got a little 6-year-old and 2-year-old, she said, "I can't tell them that." She said, "It's not true." So we just, they have Christmas, they have a Christmas tree, they have, but to me, that children look to us for truth and error, for what is and what isn't. And so we would say, well, the man dresses up as Santa Claus and they say that, you know, he's coming from the North Pole, and sometimes my children would roll their eyes, "Oh, Mum, as if." I think eventually children get that. But I think it's important because children look to us for truth. They look to us for what is real and what isn't. And so I would just give my children Bible stories. I'd give them the stories of Daniel and Joseph, incredible stories of young men and something that they can aspire to, and they love David and Goliath and the young man who slain the giant. And then my daughter Sophia loves Queen Esther. I could read her Queen Esther every day with a beautiful gown, and again stories of young people who stood firm for truth, for right and for wrong. And also, I think it's important to do things with children. If you're going to have guidelines in the home and limits, you also have to spend time with them and develop relationship with them. And there's only one thing that will develop a relationship, and that is time. So my son used to let his 3 little kids, they're the ones that massage the feet, every Friday night they could stay with us. At the time they were living on the property. And so we used to get the carpet and we'd shove it up in one corner to make like a hill, and we get the plastic animals. And I always liked the donkey, and there was a plastic donkey and a horse. My little grandsons, they'd run and they'd say, "Here's yours, this is yours." And we just sit there and we just talk to them and say, "Where are you going, mate?" "Oh, we're going over the hill." "What are you going to..." Just silly little things. They just love it. They just absolutely love it when you do things with them. And so when I was gardening all of 2020, as soon as my grandchildren saw I was in the garden, they came over, the little boy and the little girl, and they would play in the garden, and I'd give them a bit where they could dig in the garden. And then we have songs that we'd sing when we got the deep roots out, and teaching them the names of all the herbs in the garden. So educating them from a very young age and teaching them about the importance of drinking water, and they love that little bit of salt. They can have a little bit of salt before they have their water. I used to say to my grandchildren before breakfast, "Have you watered your garden yet?" Because you have to water your garden before you can have breakfast. And the garden is down in our gastrointestinal tract. As we'll see tomorrow night when we go on our journey through the gastrointestinal tract, you've got your healthy flora living in there, so explaining that to children. And one of my little grandsons, sultanas, they love sultanas on their porridge in the morning. And sometimes we have millet porridge, sometimes we'll have rice porridge, occasionally we'll have an oat porridge. And some ants got into the sultanas because we live out in the country. But the children also put chia seed on their breakfast. And little Marky got the sultanas out, and I looked at them and he looked at me and he said, well, just pretend they're chia seeds, Nana. So it's got these little ants, but he's just pretending they're chia seeds. And then showing them also what the different foods are for and what the different nuts are for. So you're teaching your children nutrition from a very young age. And desserts. I used to make the children desserts a couple of times a week. So when the grandchildren come, the favourite thing to do is to make apple pies. So I make the pastry, usually spelt pastry. It's olive oil, spelt, flour and water. And then I peel the apples and then they chop the apples. And some people say, you give them a knife? Well, it's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but it's not the bluntest either. Otherwise they can't chop the... And you know, as they chop the apple, they see what that apple does. And I never say, careful. I never say that. Sometimes I say, don't chop your finger because I don't want blood in the apple, okay? Yeah, yes, Grandma, yes, Grandma. Some of my grandchildren, I'm Grandma, sometimes I'm Nana. It's also important to keep fit so that you can play with them, so that you can go climbing with them. And I know Lennox, when he was 2, it's when they were living on the property, he would be beside the creek. You know, we have a little stream. Do you call it a creek? And he'd be a little bit uneasy, and I'd hold his hand. As soon as I held his hand, he was invincible. He would lean over the side of the creek, and I'm holding on. I'm thinking, he has total faith in me. It's just a little bit scary because I'm not that strong. I do exercise every day. He's a strong little boy, but if he was holding my hand, he could do anything. He'd just lean over. And when Jesus said, unless you become like a little child, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven, I think it's that perfect trust that I see Lennox had in my certainly hand that's not as strong as his father's, but he thinks that I am. So that trust, it doesn't develop quickly, it doesn't develop overnight, but the best way to develop it is time. It's just spending time with them. And one lady said, but doesn't it take a long time to do everything if you've got them with you? It takes a little bit longer. But I make sure that I get it done. So when I'm scrubbing the shower, they come in with me and they've got little scrubbers too. And when I'm watering the garden, they're out there too. And my little granddaughter, Sophia, she loves to have a tea party. So they go out and they pick the peppermint and we have little teapots, and just all of this is very nice to do with it. So that's all I do with my grandchildren. I don't take them to SeaWorld and I don't take them to Disneyland, because what you can give them in just what you do with them at home is so much more valuable, and they're the things that they'll always remember, and it doesn't cost very much to do that. And what my grandson, I think he got a remote car for his birthday when he's 4, but I sent him a little tiny box with little stones out of the creek, little red stones and white stones. My son rang me up and he said, Mum, we've just spent a fortune on this remote control car and all he wants to do is play with rocks from Grandma's creek. So the tiny little things. And we were going to a wedding and my little nephew was there, and he's just a little guy, and I took him a little box that had a little monkey, I think a little elephant, a gum nut from a gum tree, a couple of stones, and I gave it to him, and when he opened it he said, this is what I've always wanted. Just tiny little things. So teach them to work, and also it's important to have guidelines in the home. So at the meal, we always serve the raw food first. So at breakfast, it's always fruit. At lunch, it's always a salad. Because what I have found is children will live on bread. That's what they live on. So that comes last. So the things that are they're most less likely to eat, you put out first. And then the potatoes, then the lentils, and then when they've eaten all their dinner, they can have a slice of homemade sourdough bread with maybe a little... My children used to love toasting their bread on the fuel stove and then put olive oil and honey on it. Anyway, they love that. And then when they eat well, they don't need to eat until the next meal. And you've probably noticed when children say they're starving, they're usually bored. And so keep them busy, distract, give them water between meals. And because I used to think if I give them something between a meal, they're not going to eat the next meal. But if you keep distracting them, because when my children, I probably breastfed them all till they were about 2.5. So until that, they would have a breast milk, maybe mid-morning to go to sleep, so that sort of keeps them a little bit longer. But it's important for water. I don't think children should eat breakfast unless they've drunk water. Because you'll notice that if they eat and they haven't had water, what's the next thing they want to do? Drink. And then they drink lots, they drink after the meal, then they're watering down your hydrochloric acid. So setting up good habits at a very young age. So my younger son, William, he did not like water. It was very hard for him to get him to drink water. So I'd read him a story, but I wouldn't turn the page till he'd had a mouthful of water. Read him out, oh, we turn the page. And he's ready for the next one. I said, water, drink water, then we turn the page. Or I'd get fancy straws. And I breastfed him till I was 3. So what I'd do, I wouldn't feed him until he'd had some water. Oh, I'd say, no, water. See again, establishing guidelines at an early age. One of the most dangerous things you can do to children is indulge them. And so when a lady said to me one day, you must spoil your grandchildren, I just smiled at her because I knew she wouldn't like my answer. But she pushed it again. She said, you must spoil your grandchildren. I said, no. You see, what does spoil mean? Ruin something beautiful. And I appreciate the work that my children have put into my grandchildren in training them, and so I'm not going to undo that. So people say to my son, William, my youngest son, because he's very strict with his boys, and they're so well behaved. And everyone says, you got such good kids. Well, do you know, they just didn't happen. The Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go. They need training. And it's the will, and you don't beat the will to pieces, and you don't let it go wherever it wants. You gently guide and direct the will. So it's patiently, and you never yell. In fact, when you yell at a child, you tell the child you don't like them. That's what they think when you yell at them. But if you've already established guidelines, and if there are consequences for going past the guidelines, then the mother never gets angry, because if a child does this, well, this is the result, or this is the consequence. And if they do this, so if it's good behaviour, there's a good consequence. If it's bad behaviour, sorry, you can't do this, or sorry, you're going to have to sit in the corner on a little stool. You've heard of Super Nanny, that British nurse. She said, sitting on a stool in a corner, they hate it. It's age +1. So if they're 3, they sit on the stool for 4 minutes. If they're 5, they sit on the stool for 6 minutes. And then when the 6 minutes is up, then they apologise, or, you know, consequence for whatever happens. But there must be guidelines, because when there are guidelines in a home, there's peace in the home. And when there's consequences for every action, the mother and the father aren't getting frustrated to the point where they start yelling. I've just been with my daughter in Wisconsin. She has 7 children. I have never heard her raise her voice. Never. Whew, that's powerful. That's very powerful. I was on the phone to her this morning, and apparently the little one, a cupboard door opened, and one of the 10-year-old, he's got these guns that you shoot a target or something, like rat shot or something. Anyway, it fell out and hit her on the head. And Emma says, "James, get that gun and put it away, or I'm going to break it up in pieces." She's always calm. She's always just so calm the way she says it. And I heard her say to the little girl, yes, the gun hit you on the head, but that's all right, because they're in Wisconsin. So I don't know what it's like here, but in Wisconsin it's like every family has guns. My 14-year-old son, he won a competition and the prize was a shotgun. You know, that's just the culture. Now, mind you, that they have very strong rules on the using of them, but, you know, it was just an illustration to show Emma just keeps calm. She just keeps calm the whole time. And I think she keeps calm because she's on top of it. There's a consequence for everything that happens. And there's a book called Have a New Kid by Friday by Keith Lehman. He's an American author, he's a Christian author. And at the end of every chapter, there's these testimonies of parents who had a new kid by Friday. And all they do is they change the way they are dealing with the kid. And he said, B never happens till A happens. And he said, words mean nothing, action is everything. It's like the farmer that said to me, my 15-year-old girl, the room looks like a bomb hit it. And I kept telling her, clean up your room, clean up the room. So he said, it didn't get clean, so I got the screwdriver and took the door away. What does every 15-year-old girl love? Privacy. Now, if that girl's smart, she won't say a word. And if that father's smart, he won't say a word. And after a few days, he noticed the room was tidy, so he got the door and put the door back on. See, the less words, the better. Yeah? The book, Have a New Kid by Friday. There's another book called Have a New Teenager by Friday. One person said, I thought Friday wrote the book. Have a New Kid by Friday, written by Keith Lehman. Have a New Teenager by Friday. Have a New Self by Friday is another book. One's called Have a New Husband by Friday. And this lady was reading that book and she threw the book down halfway through and she said, stupid book, all it's doing is talking about me. Exactly. So that's what the book does. It just shows our reactions, how we deal with it. I notice my time is up, so I'm going to say a closing prayer and we'll finish. Father in heaven, thank you so much for what you've taught us today. Thank you so much for how simple and basic the guidelines are to better health and a happier, healthier life. We pray that you'll help each one of us to not only retain what we've learned, but also to put it into practice. And we pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.